morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is that you might be at this time of day. I am so happy to be able to welcome each of you to the 2021 ESA Foundation Annual Meeting, and we are so glad that you're with us today. We will have a little business throughout the meeting, but as you know, we would really rather share exciting speakers and fill our time with their stories to see their great accomplishments and to recognize your generous donations. And we hope you enjoy what we have for you today. It is my great honor to introduce to you the ESA Foundation Board of Directors for 2020-2021. Judy York, Vice Chairman, Membership Chairman, and Communications Development Chairman. Patricia Howerton, Recording Secretary and Newsletter Editor. Tammy Akins, Treasurer, Fund Development Chairman, and Event Development Co-Chairman. Rosalie Eckel, Endowment Chairman, Junior Past Chairman, and Event Development Chairman. Rosalie Griffith, Parliamentarian, Bylaw Chairman, and Grants Chairman. Kathy Lloyd, Scholarship Chairman. Kim Andrell, Foundation Counselor Chairman and Procedure Manual Chairman. And I'm Ann Southall, Chairman and ESA MC Liaison. We also have a great team that works with us, including Marianne Steentsma, the Overseas Director from Australia, Leanne Ray, International Council President and ESA Foundation Liaison and Chaplain, BJ Clark, Strategic Consultant, and last but definitely not least, McKeegan Wiest, ESA Philanthropic and Communications Coordinator. There are others that help so much, and while I don't have slides for them, I'd like to personally recognize and thank Doug Mills, Charlotte Carloni, and Steve Murray from Morgan Stanley. The ESA Foundation wouldn't be where it is today without their support. Thank each of you for your time supporting the ESA Foundation. Now I would like to turn this over to Judy York for some exciting business.
Hello, everyone. First, I would like to say thank you so much to our membership for approving the bylaw changes that have allowed us to vote electronically. It has made it so much easier for everyone. And now I'd like to recognize our candidates for this year. We had 3 positions open on the ESA Foundation Board. And we had 3 candidates. They are Terry Rust from Arizona, Rosalie Griffith from Oklahoma, and Carolyn Warren from Oregon.
Receiving no other nominations for office, I declare the candidates are elected by acclamation.
Thank you so much, Ann, and congratulations to our candidates. I would like to also let you know about the 3 directors that are leaving the board this year. And they are Rosalie Eckel, who has served 1 term this time. Rosalie, you have been a member of the ESA Foundation Board for many years. You were first elected in 1995, I believe, and have been an integral part of the board since then. Thank you, Rosalie, for your service and dedication to the ESA Foundation. You have shared your love and your donations of time and money. You have made the world a better place in which to live. In honor of your many years of service to the ESA Foundation, a donation has been made to the Les and Rosalie Eckel Endowment. Next, we have Rosalie Griffith, who has served on the ESA Foundation Board for 1 term. Thank you for your service, Rosalie. Your dedication, time, and donations to the foundation have shown us that you care. We know you will continue to be a part of the ESA Foundation and continue to help make the world a better place. In honor of your service, a donation has been made to the Jordan Griffith Memorial Endowment.
Judy York has served the ESA Foundation Board for 2 terms. Thank you for your service and dedication to the ESA Foundation. Your donations of time and money have shown us how much you care. In honor of your service, a donation has been made to the York Family Endowment.
Thank you so much, Ann. And now I would like to introduce Rosalie Griffith, our workshop chairman.
Good afternoon, everyone. The foundation presented 3 virtual workshops this year, and they were well attended. And for that, we thank you, and we hope that you have enjoyed them. Perhaps you have even learned something. Our first was in September, and we focused on the Grant Builder Program. And then in November, you got to know the foundation board, and we shared a lot of our roles and responsibilities as board members. Hopefully that'll get some of you interested in maybe, running for the office or running for the board at some time. Our last was on education issues and how the pandemic affected our students. If any of you have any suggestions on subjects for further workshops, we would appreciate hearing from you and letting us know. If the interest is there, we will continue to plan more. So let us hear from you. It gives me great pleasure to be introducing our next speaker, Roger Crutchfield. Roger is a great friend. Roger is a longtime educator and earned both his Bachelor of Science and Master of Education degrees from Northeastern State University in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. He is a certified classroom teacher and administrator and spent 18 years in Common Ed before earning his career tech credentials and accepting a position in the adult education department at Northeast Tech. Roger has spent the last 14 years at Northeast Tech, 11 of which was spent serving as the deputy superintendent and treasurer. This year will be his second year as superintendent at Northeast Tech. Roger is a member of the Cooperative Council of School Administrators, the Oklahoma Association of Career and Technical Education, and the Oklahoma Association of School Administrators. And he was recently selected as the State Superintendent of the Year. Roger and his wife, Misty, have been married for more than 30 years and have 3 adult children and 3 grandchildren. So with that, I'd like to have Roger.
Hello, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Roger Crutchfield, Superintendent of Northeast Technology Center in Northeast Oklahoma. We cover the 5 Northeast counties, Rogers, Ottawa, Craig, Delaware, and Mayes counties. We conduct career and technical education, teaching everything from welding to nursing to culinary arts and cosmetology, lineman training, CNC machining, a host of things that we have going on at Northeast Technology Center. I was asked here to visit with you somewhat about kind of a post-pandemic or during pandemic response, kind of what we did at Northeast Technology Center, what we learned, what we tried, what we experienced in trying to reduce risk and remain operational. That was the goal that we had here. Try to keep our people, both employees and students, healthy and also provide a quality educational experience for them as well. What we found ourselves in is we broke for spring break in March, and then it became apparent that we were in the midst of a pandemic, and so a state of emergency was declared. So we never returned from spring break. What that caused us to do is really reevaluate how we were going to finish that year without being in the presence of our students. Now, some of our instructors had a lot more learning management systems in place where they had curriculum online. Others, we opted more of a paper pencil kind of strategy, sending home assignments, having them pick up assignments. We checked out computers that we had, both laptops and desktops. It was all hands on deck, and quite honestly here we met a lot on Zoom as we were prohibited from even coming to work and being together. Many of us logging on from home, strategizing, implementing protocols. How do we clean? How do we deliver? How do we train? A lot of that was designed to just get through that spring intact. We were able to do that pretty successfully. Some of the students we did bring back in June, some of the certification type classes like cosmetology and welding. We actually paid our teachers to come back in June and gave those students an opportunity to come in for some hands-on work, to be able to meet the requirements of some certification exams that each of them had to take. After the end of the fiscal year, now became the time to plan for the next year. We were going to have the students come on site, for no longer were we prohibited from doing that, but we were going to have to do that and maintain CDC guidelines. So we had to meet over the summer and develop our return to school plan, where what we decided to do was to implement a hybrid model of instruction, and that meant some was in person, some was distant. So we adopted a schedule that allowed students to be on site 2 days a week, and they were distant 3 days a week. So we had half our students there at any given time. Half our students were there on Mondays and Tuesdays. Everyone was virtual on Wednesdays, which meant no students were on site. What that allowed us to do was to implement some of the sanitation, some of the cleaning protocols that we had implemented, to do a really deep clean on Wednesdays, and then a second cohort would come in on Thursday, Friday. So that meant our students had less time on site, but the goal was to essentially flip the classroom. The students would do a lot of their theory online or at home reading a book, doing the paper pencil type of stuff that would optimize the amount of time when they were on site, that they're not going to have to do that. They can get out there, get in the shop, and utilize the instructor's time more efficiently. So our instructors had half the number of students on site. They could pay more close attention and give each student more attention on those hands-on pieces. And then on Wednesdays, they could communicate with all of their students digitally, phone calls, they would do a Zoom meeting. That was our plan. Still incorporating a lot of restrictions too on site as far as any commons areas. Going to the snack bar was prohibited, or at least minimize contact with one another. So these were some strategies that we implemented. A lot of training we had to do in the summer. We brought our teachers on board. We hired 2 new people. New positions were created in instructional services because we really needed to ramp up our capabilities of delivering online instruction. So June and July was a very educational experience for a lot of us. How do we do school and do it slightly differently? And so kudos to all of our staff, those that were delivering the training, those that were receiving the training. All of us were learning a lot about this. We all learned about Zoom. We had heard of Zoom, but now we've all become pretty proficient at Zoom, and we'll probably keep Zoom and conferencing around for time after this as well, because it's been very well received. Allows us to be a lot more productive in a district where we're an hour apart from each other in many regards. So our instructors learned how to use the LMSs. Our students became proficient at it. If we learned anything, it was that we shouldn't have assumed our students were as technologically advanced as we thought they were. So we found that, they might be real good at Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat, but they weren't real good at uploading documents and emailing attachments. So we would have probably spent more time training our students in actually how to be a student in an LMS system as well. But in time, things kind of gelled. I think we kind of hit our stride and got our groove late in the fall semester. And I think we realized there's some benefits to all of that. It was challenging at times. I think communication was the key. Where are we? Where are we going? We had to identify protocols in place for tracing contacts. We identified our HR and compliance director as that central contact so we could address uniformly at every campus, every student, every employee, what we need to do to be in compliance not only with CDC, but also the Oklahoma State Department of Health guidelines on quarantining and isolations and that type of thing. One thing we had to be really mindful of is we serve a lot of high schools, so we had to communicate with our high schools exactly what our plan was. You know, our students only coming to us twice a day. Transportation can be an issue. Technology, broadband access could be quite an issue. So we bought a lot of laptops, we bought a lot of Macs, we bought a lot of hotspots that we could send home and check out to our students so that they could have internet access in areas they might not otherwise have. We communicated with our partner schools about the schedule, modified the transportation. We brought our bus drivers in on Wednesdays to help with sanitation since they're not driving on those days, they helped us really deep clean. Here we are at the end of this school year, planning to next school year, and we're really hoping to bring our students back full bore, 5 days a week. Don't know yet what our mask requirements are going to be, social distancing. We'll continue to monitor that in this ever-evolving environment that we have. We're hopeful, yet we're planning for being able to pivot back to a hybrid model if we need to. We don't want to forget what we've learned as we move forward, but hope that we can return to a better spot, actually. But again, it was challenges that we all had, but I think we were able to come together as a good group, charting a course for our community, communicating that course, communicating that plan, and working together and make us stronger. And I hope that helps you, gives you a little insight into how we handled it. It wasn't necessarily the only right way. I know a lot of different organizations implemented things a little differently, but that's what worked for Northeast Tech. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. And with our next speaker, I'd like to introduce is Kathy Lloyd, who is our scholarship chairman. So with that, Kathy.
Good afternoon. It is good to be with you all today. As you can see from some of the statistics that are showing, this year has been a wonderful scholarship year, and we have reached a milestone. We are giving $347,100 in scholarship, which is a record amount. Since 1980, the beginning of the scholarship program, we have given $4,100,853 in scholarships. I would like to thank the village it takes to accomplish the scholarship process. Endowers who supply the scholarship funds, all the interested persons who promote our scholarships, the processing team, ESA Foundation Board of Directors, the Foundation counselors, the headquarters staff, scholarship reviewers, and judges. Thank you again for your continued support of the scholarship program. We will have more statistics about the scholarships in the fall newsletter, but you can always contact me if you want some specific information before then. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce scholarship winner Janet Montalongo from Mission, Kansas. Janet is in med school at the University of Kansas, and now she will share her story with you.
Hey everyone, my name is Janet Montalongo, and I am so excited to have been given the opportunity to share with you a little bit about myself and my journey to medical school. I was raised by a single immigrant mother who left her native country in search of a safer place where she could raise my sister and me. As a child, my living environment was very unstable and traumatizing due to domestic violence. However, this difficult upbringing allowed me to hold on to my education with a firm grip, because it was the only thing that could bring me a sense of stability. During middle school and high school, I challenged myself by taking honors and AP classes because I wanted to do everything within my power to graduate high school, since that was an accomplishment that my parents were unable to obtain. The highest level of education that both of my parents achieved was elementary school. So you could just imagine that when I received that high school diploma, it was a monumental moment for my entire family. After high school, I attended the University of California, Davis, and I received my bachelor's degree in Spanish. At UC Davis, I had the opportunity to expose myself to new things, which broadened my limited perspective of the world. I first became interested in the medical field when I volunteered in a city-run clinic called Clínica Tepati. I hold this clinic very dear to my heart because it became my first opportunity to provide free medical services to people who looked like me and who shared a similar story as my family's. This was a life-changing experience for me because I was now on the other side. Instead of my family going to these free clinics when we could not afford health insurance, I was now working, triaging, and running a clinic to provide care to people who were like me. I felt so empowered by this initial opportunity that I wanted to do more for others, which led me to explore international medicine. During my third year of college, I traveled to Oaxaca, Mexico to volunteer in rural clinics and urban hospitals for 3 months. This experience was very humbling and life-changing for me because I had the opportunity to assist rural physicians in providing medical care to indigenous people who lived in the mountains and who spoke different dialects. While I was serving in Mexico, I also had the opportunity to observe surgeons in the operating room. And this is when I had an epiphany and I realized that I was interested in becoming a surgeon. When I returned to the United States, I participated in 2 surgical internships where I shadowed and learned more from surgeons. Upon graduating from UC Davis, I completed 2 post-baccalaureate programs, one at the University of California, Irvine, and another one at the University of Kansas, so that I could strengthen my foundation in the sciences and be ready for the next chapter of my academic career. I was so determined to overcome every obstacle in my path, and then finally on January 15, 2019, I received my letter of acceptance from the University of Kansas School of Medicine. This was a moment I had prayed for every day, and it had finally arrived. In July of that year, I received my white coat, and as soon as I began my first year in medical school, I accomplished another goal of mine, which was helping high school students from underprivileged backgrounds receive free medical services. I served as a co-executive director of Bulldog Health Clinic, which is a student-run clinic because I wanted to help minimize the health disparity that these students faced, so that they did not have to go through what I went through as a child without health insurance. I am currently a rising third-year medical student who will begin her clinical rotations at the end of May. I am very passionate about rural medicine, surgery, and OB-GYN. I elected to perform 2 rural rotations during this upcoming year so that I can learn more about rural medicine and see how I could incorporate that with either surgery or OB-GYN. In the future, I hope to practice in an underserved community so that I can join the battle in combating health disparities within the community. In addition to my medical degree, I will be obtaining a master's degree in public health after I complete my 3rd year so that I can acquire more tools that will help me better serve medically underserved communities. I believe that all of this preparation will help me narrow down what I am looking for in a residency program. Though I currently do not know where I will be practicing after my residency program, I do know that I would like to be in an underserved community where there is a great need for bilingual doctors like myself. My journey once I began medical school would not have been made possible without all of the support that I have received from the ESA Foundation scholarships. Words cannot describe how thankful my family and I am for all of your generosity. When I began medical school, I was not sure how I was going to be able to afford this higher education, especially without my mother's financial support, since she is now disabled and unable to work. I never imagined that I would be able to receive financial support after graduating from undergrad. The ESA Foundation has reduced my financial burden and stress, giving me the reassurance that I will have sufficient funds to cover my tuition and basic living expenses. Now I can channel my entire energy and attention to learning about the pathophysiology of diseases so that I can know how to treat our loved ones and those in our communities. I really hope that through my story, you can envision how impactful your support can mean to students, especially those like myself who are the first in their family to pursue a higher education in the medical field. In the future, I look forward to repaying the generosity that I have received from the ESA Foundation by helping other students who are working hard for a better future. Thank you so much for believing in my potential and for helping me pursue my American dream.
Also sharing with us today is Sarah Gammon from Drexel, Missouri. Sarah will be attending SOAS University of London this fall. I will let her tell you about her educational journey and her goals.
Hello, my name is Sarah Gammon and I am from Drexel, Missouri. I wanted to start off and say thank you so much to the ESA Foundation for their continued support of my education, both throughout my undergrad and graduate degrees. Without your generous support, I would not have been able to graduate from undergrad debt-free, and I would not have been able to pursue a master's degree without worry of the huge financial burden of going abroad and studying. So a little bit about myself. As I said, I'm from Drexel, Missouri, which is a small town about an hour south of Kansas City, very rural. It's 965 people, and I graduated with a class of 22. And it was in high school where I got really involved with the National FFA organization. And through this organization, I really developed a passion for agriculture, as well as was able to expand my leadership abilities and gain knowledge across a wide variety of subjects. My participation in FFA made me more confident, and I gained public speaking skills and really decided what I wanted to do for a career. And so with agriculture and through the FFA, I was actually able to attend another conference called the Missouri Youth Institute by the World Food Prize. And for this, I wrote a paper on a country of my choice and one reason why they were experiencing food insecurity. So I chose Burundi, which is a small country in Eastern Africa, and a lack of infrastructure. And it was through this research and writing this essay that I really learned what food insecurity was. And it was here that I decided that this was what I wanted to pursue as a career. And so I was able to attend the Global Youth Institute in Des Moines, Iowa during my senior year of high school and meet with experts and leaders across the globe working on issues of food insecurity and poverty. And this really solidified my desire and goal of working in combating food insecurity. And so because of my participation in this conference, I was able to be chosen as a Borlaug Ruwan international intern, where I spent the summer right after high school in Chennai, India, at the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, researching women's empowerment and how dairy cooperatives were helping women become economically and socially empowered. And this was just an absolutely tremendous experience, life-changing. It was my first time out of the country, and as a girl from the middle of nowhere, Missouri, this was just eye-opening and such a transformative time and experience of personal growth. And so after I got back, I started my undergrad at Kansas State University, where I majored in agricultural economics with a secondary major in global food systems leadership and a minor in statistics. And throughout my time at K-State, I was there 3 years. I was involved with Collegiate Farm Bureau, where I was able to serve as the vice president as well as the president, and Student Governing Association, where I started as an intern, was a senator for the College of Agriculture, and in my senior year, I was the director of food insecurity, where I worked with our on-campus food pantry to secure funding for the pantry, as well as increasing the ability of the pantry to function and support students and staff across K-State's campus. And so I guess also during my time at K-State, I had several internships, which also helped with my career development. I interned at Cargill, where I was a management associate intern working on issues relating to supply chain. I interned for Growing Hope Globally, which is a small nonprofit focused on connecting U.S. farmers to farmers abroad and contributing funding to development projects overseas, really helping farmers to increase their agricultural productivity and move them out of poverty and food insecurity. I also was able to volunteer for 2 months in Nyeri, Kenya with K-State at the Children and Youth Empowerment Center. And it was here that we were able to work with local youth who, for some reason, were on the streets, but the center was giving them a chance to come live and learn and be a part of a community where all of their needs could be supported. And so through that time, we volunteered, we helped tutor classes, we taught life skills classes, volunteered with local community health workers, and helped with the farm at the center. We were really just there to help with anything they needed, and it was also a very good learning experience for us as 6 students from K-State who had never been to Africa before, had never been in that region, and it was just a really good time of personal growth. And so after my graduation from K-State, I now attend the University of Cambridge in England, and I'm pursuing a Master's of Philosophy in Development Studies. This has really been a great year. I've been here since September, was home for a little bit in December due to the lockdown with the pandemic, but overall it's been amazing getting to meet people from all across the globe who are all interested in development studies, but in completely different areas, and coming together and making connections that will last a lifetime, as well as learning from professors who are world-renowned and experts in their fields. And so this coming summer, I will be interning for the World Bank Inspection Panel and getting to look at cases filed by people negatively affected by World Bank projects, and getting to look at how those complaints are handled and addressed. And then in the fall, I'm actually pursuing a second master's. So I will be in London at the SOAS, University of London, the School of Oriental and African Studies, pursuing a Master's of Science in Development Economics. So at this point, I'll be getting to specialize a little bit more and focus on agricultural development and all of the economics surrounding that. So again, thank you so much for your continued support of my education over the past years. I really appreciate it, and I could not be here without you. And so thank you again.
At this time, I would like to reintroduce Rosalie Griffin in her duties as Grants Chairman.
Thank you, Kathy. Wasn't it nice to hear from Janet and Sarah and hear their stories on how our scholarships have helped them in their careers? So nice. At a recent virtual workshop meeting, the new Grant Builder program was introduced. And this new idea combines the Life Active campaign and the grant program. It caught the attention of Carla Nichols and the state of Minnesota, and it did not take them long to jump on board with their support. They are the first state to be recognized for their support in their $1,000 donation to the Career Enhancement Grant Program. This grant is for individuals who are seeking to develop skills for their career advancement through training programs to update or maintain employment credentials. They saw the need in their state to help those wanting and needing to enhance their professional careers, especially during this pandemic when so many have lost their jobs and they are trying to get back into the workforce. Chapters and individual members can always donate to the grant fund. I'm not sure if members really know that. Only a small percentage of the Life Active membership support our grants, but you know, we have found with a demand that doesn't always cover it. So education is our mission, and we want to continue to build on it. So working together, we can achieve building an even greater program. If you would like to help us do that, contact any one of the foundation board members or myself, and we will be happy to help you to put your funds to good use. I'm excited to introduce this lovely young lady to all of you that has been a recipient of our grants. Frances Dean graduated from the University of Georgia cum laude with a Bachelor of Science in Health Promotion. After graduation, she needed help to refine her skills in program planning, implementation, evaluation, behavioral health, and a variety of other disciplines. Currently, Frances is attending the University of Michigan and pursuing dual degrees in public health and social work. Frances has received several of our foundation career enhancement grants, and she will share her story and how our grants helped her financially gain the advanced skills she needed to be successful in her professional pursuit of becoming an effective biomedical behavioral scientist. With that, Frances.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. And thank you everyone for coming here today and hearing about my story. So I will start by saying what I used the grant for. The grant's purposes was for me to attend the American Public Health Association. As you may know, the American Public Health Association, here for I will refer to as APHA, is one of the largest public health conferences in the nation. This was when I was first awarded the ESA Career Enhancement Grant. That was actually my first time going to the conference. At that time, I was an early career professional working for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, focused on viral hepatitis with the District of Columbia Department of Health. When I attended the APHA conference, I was able to meet other professionals with similar goals that I had, such as mental health, sexual health, substance abuse, and risk reduction on a local and global level. I was able to see what types of public health innovations were discussed and introduced as I was there. And lastly, I was able to experience a virtual format for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic. I understand that a lot of conferences either had to completely cancel or they decided to move to a virtual format in response to the pandemic, abiding by CDC guidelines. So not only was it my first time attending the conference, but it was also my first time attending virtually. And as a gift for us attending, we do have access to the on-demand APHA talks for a year, I believe. So I've been just like going back, looking at everyone's posters, everyone's oral presentations, and seeing, you know, what was added to the quality of APHA's work. The theme for that year was preventing violence, and I can never forget how that year the public health world was pushing to reduce the level of gun violence given the events that happened within the past few years. So you were probably wondering why APHA out of all the conferences? Well, first of all, since I am someone that has always enjoyed public health, you know, being the biggest conference of the year, I wanted to, of course, enhance my skills, get to meet more people who share my interest in the public health and epidemiology world, and to see people who are more likely like me, given that I am a multiracial woman of color in the public health and STEM field. That's one reason. The second reason is because I wanted to gain more experience on attending conferences in general, you know, kind of see how presentations and new findings are delivered, you know, learn how to gain critical feedback from seasoned professionals, and, you know, just listen to what the preliminary speakers had to say when giving their piece or their spiel at each workshop or session. And then there have been countless of other reasons, of course, that I can't think of the moment, but, you know, just meeting new people, learning new things, and most of all, becoming a better public health practitioner. So in the future, because I am pursuing biomedical and behavioral science, I do desire to become an epidemiologist focused on the improvement of behavioral health in historically excluded communities that are disproportionately affected by mental, behavioral, and developmental disorders, and collaborating with them on identifying tools key to optimal lifestyle. To achieve this, my set objectives are to analyze how stigma interacts with mental, behavioral, and developmental disorders from a social cultural standpoint, utilize translational research tools for data collection, and incorporate data to care efforts to develop a new and current intervention on the clinical, community, and population level. After my completion of my 2 degrees from the University of Michigan Ann Arbor School of Public Health and School of Social Work, I will be considering employment with the Department of Defense in Baltimore, Maryland, focused on health disparities research with Army personnel. Well, that is all I have today. I thank you again for giving me this award. This means a lot to me, and I hope to stay connected with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. And we wish you continued success. We are privileged to have with us today Kelly Campbell. Kelly is the Kansas City Regional Director or Regional Development Officer and serves on the Folds of Honor National Speakers Bureau. Kelly lost her husband, Major Sean Campbell, in a Marine Corps helicopter collision in Hawaii on January the 14th, 2016. While the Campbell family will always grieve their hero, husband, and father, they are joyful and full of hope for the future. Kelly is grateful to be able to help pass on the support and hope she was given and continue honoring the legacy of her husband and all of those who serve our nation. Please welcome Kelly Campbell.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's a joy to be here. I'm still thinking about the stories I've just heard. I just love hearing these success stories of students, and education is it's a world changer. And this has been great to see what you do and to be a part of it today. I just thank you. I have no doubt that there are 100 more stories here today. We all have stories to tell of our lives and joys and losses, heartbreaks, and all of those stories make up this community, and it is beautiful. I don't think you would be here today if you didn't believe that your story was entwined with everyone else's, that your life is entwined with everyone else's. It's why you choose to serve, I think. And your story, it's what makes you look around and find ways to positively influence these other stories. So thank you for that. And thank you for inviting me to share my story with you. I hope that if nothing else, you take away the knowledge today that your service and your gift today to Folds of Honor will make a difference very personally in the lives of very real and special families. Folds of Honor is a 501c3 that provides educational scholarships to the spouses and children of fallen and disabled military service members. To date, started in 2007, and to date, Folds of Honor has given nearly 30,000 scholarships to families. That has come to about $145 million in scholarships. So no small feat. And my family is counted in that number, as you heard. Next month, my 4 children will be in 11th, 9th, 7th, and 2nd grade. It's hard to keep up here in Kansas City. We've actually had a season of transition this year, so 3 of them will go to a new private school. My oldest will stay at their old private school and graduate in 2 years. But that safe and caring place was something that I desperately needed 5 years ago when I arrived here in the cold and dreary Midwest. I have to say, it was February when I came to Kansas, just weeks after my husband died with those 11 other Marines in Hawaii. We were a homeschooling family then, an adventuring family, 15 years into a military life that we just loved. It was all we'd ever known together. And so here in Kansas City, in the midst of that sudden trauma and grief, I didn't have friends here. My parents were here. My family was offered hope and healing and a community of support as we had to navigate that whole new life. In my old life, I was Sean's wife, a Marine Corps pilot's wife. We'd been married 15 years after meeting at Texas A&M University in College Station, where I actually grew up as well. I was a stay-at-home mom to our 4 kids. At the time, they were 11, 8, 6, and 2. We lived in a little yellow house just a block from the beach in Kailua on Oahu. And even though we'd only lived there for about a year and a half, it was home. We had learned in the Marine Corps that you have to plant your roots quickly and plant them deep, and plant them in people in your community. And so we had some amazing close friendships, an incredible church community, and we loved our life there. As far as duty stations go, of course, it was paradise. I mean, we just felt like we won the lottery. So on January 14th, 2016, all of that changed in an instant. I went to sleep that night listening to the unmistakable rumble of 2 CH-53s flying over the beach by our house. You can't mistake that sound if you've ever been around a Marine Corps base. They are huge and wall rattling, and you know, they like to say they don't fly, they beat the air into submission. So I heard them, and I knew that night that they were landing at the base, and Sean would get on for the next leg of that routine nighttime training flight. Earlier that day, before leaving for work, you know, it had just been a very normal day in a house with 4 children. You know, there was stress, and Hawaii was hot. We didn't have air conditioning, and you know, we'd had a rough morning. And so I'll never forget that Sean gathered us all together before he left, sat us down and prayed for us as a family. And he just prayed that we would love one another well, and took the time to give everyone a hug and say goodbye. And that was just the kind of man he was. He sent me a text at 11:14 p.m. that night, just as I was going to bed, and before taking off, he said, "Wish I was there with you guys." But less than half an hour later, Pegasus 3-1 and 3-2, those 2 helicopters I heard, collided just off the North Shore, instantly killing all 12 of those Marines on board. So on January 15th, I was awoken at 4 a.m. by a phone call from my dad here in Kansas City on the mainland. Being 5 or 6 hours ahead, time zone wise, meant that it hit the news before I got word myself or any of the other families. So they were hearing this news of a collision, a crash in the ocean, and they called just to hear me say Sean was home. And I remember laying my hand on his empty pillow and trying to make sense of what my dad was saying. And I remember his voice breaking as I told him, "I'm going to hang up. I'm going to call the squadron." And then I remember sitting outside my house on the sidewalk, trying not to frighten my children. But I remember them waking up and coming and going, and it was just a blur. And then I remember that moment when I saw three dressed uniformed officers walking towards my gate. And I knew. I don't remember much after that. I was 36 years old and facing the loss of a one of a kind husband, father, and friend. I just look at that smile. There was a massive 5-day search and rescue operation that started that day. Nightly Coast Guard briefing, the steady stream of people to my house. People just started arriving from literally around the world. I had friends come from Japan, my family come from the States, and it was incredible, the community and the support and the love and care that we felt. But then at the end of that week came that final news. And that day that I had to tell my children that their dad wasn't coming home. Still so hard to share, still to this day, the worst moment of my life. Very suddenly after that, we had to pack up and leave our home, our friends, our family, everything familiar and safe. We gave away our paddle boards and pet rabbits. I think we took fish back to the pet store, just loss upon loss. And even as we were leaving our home behind there in Hawaii to come here and stay in Kansas City, the investigation and salvage operation would be ongoing for months. And so it wasn't until April that year, over 3 months later, that my family stood on a rainy tarmac in Houston, Texas, and welcomed our hero back under a flag draped casket. We buried him in College Station, Texas, our first home together, in the Aggie Field of Honor. So I know this is a sad story. I still can't tell it without tears, but I'm not here to ask for your pity. My family will always carry this grief and this loss, yes, but and we will always miss Sean. But I share my story because I want you to know that hope is a very real thing. I want you to know that my joy today is deeper because of that sorrow that we've known. And I want you to know that this great man with this great smile named Sean Campbell lived a beautiful life on this earth. And he is not to be forgotten. Our family was crushed, yes, but not destroyed. We held on to that peace. Sean left us with such peace that day with that prayer. And we have watched God miraculously provide for our family ever since. And Folds of Honor has been one of those miracles. So it's such a joy for me to be able to look at you and tell you thank you because of the generosity of Folds of Honor and people behind it like you that give to make it happen. Because of supporters like you joining this mission, families like mine are given hope in the form of these educational scholarships. And so please hear me when I say that this gift is about so much more than paying tuition. Like these other stories we've heard today, the ripple effects of an education are life-changing, future-changing. What Folds of Honor gave me and restored for me was hope for my children's futures. So every summer since that year, when we receive letters saying that they have again been awarded scholarships for the coming school year, I'm reminded that we'll never be alone in this journey. And it has been quite a journey. Last year, I actually married the love of my second life, Mike Goodnow. We had a COVID wedding, so that's a whole other story. COVID wedding and blending families. I gained a beautiful stepdaughter. And my name is now Goodnow. I mean, you can't make that up. I didn't marry him for his name, but it's a pretty fun story to tell. So being remarried to this wonderful man who loves and cares for me and our children in the most beautiful, beautiful ways, it's a gift I never imagined. It just being where I am today, 5 years ago, I could not have imagined it. It's not a neat and tidy happily ever after, you know. We'll always carry the grief and scars of our loss. Sean's name will always be spoken and honored in our home, and our children will know their story and where they come from. But I look at my life today and I know that Sean would be so proud and thankful for the ways that we've been able to move forward. And by supporting Folds, by supporting education, this is what you're doing. You're investing in futures, in real lives, in generations. Young people like my kids who I promise you, look at those faces, they will grow up to be world changers. I know that because of their experiences and the example their dad set for him and the prayers he prayed for them, they're growing up to be extraordinary and compassionate, wise young people. I know that because of the education they're receiving, the amazing, excellent education they're receiving, they'll grow up to seek and create truth and goodness and beauty in the world. And don't we need more of that? And I know Folds of Honor is committed to having our backs the whole way through. Sweet Sean, he lived his whole life. He lived it beautifully. He made the most of his days. And not everyone is called to serve in uniform like Sean was. But I do believe we're all called to serve. I think you all would agree with that as you are serving. And the mission of Folds of Honor is to honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. And so I'm proud to be able to tell you firsthand today that Folds of Honor is definitely doing that. And in the process, they're handing out hope to thousands of families who've made the ultimate sacrifice for the freedoms we all enjoy every day. Sadly, every year, hundreds of fully qualified applicants are turned away because there's just not enough. And I just, that breaks my heart. Why us and not them? And which is why I do what I do. This summer, in fact, in just the next week, letters will begin to go out awarding scholarships and letting students know if they are receiving funding for the coming year or not. And it's a tricky time right now post-COVID, and fundraising has not been easy. And but you know, it's going to be a good year, and I know that we're going to help fulfill a lot of dreams for a lot of students. But my hope is to see that gap just every year grow smaller and smaller until no family has to be turned away from this help that they deserve. And so that's why I share my story, because it's not easy, but it's worth it when I get to know that I'm passing that hope and help on to other families like mine. So thank you for being part of the Folds of Honor story today and for making a difference in the lives of military families. Thank you for remembering Sean's life and his sacrifice, and for supporting his living legacy in Tristan and Kenna and Kate and Donovan Campbell that you can see there. Thank you for all you do in service to your community. It's just, like I said, amazing to hear these stories today and to see what beautiful difference education makes in so many lives and in the world that those lives will touch. So thank you for that, and God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing your story and taking time to be with us today. And we wish you and your family much success in the future. Thank you so much. And with that said, I would like, is Leanne Ray, who is our International Council President. Leanne, knowing how much you admire and support the Folds of Honor, the ESA Foundation has made a donation in your honor to the Folds of Honor. We have all enjoyed working with you this year, and this is only a small token of our appreciation for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the ESA Foundation, and especially to Kelly. And hearing your story, I'm just touched by what you said today, and I'm so honored that we are able to continue to support Folds of Honor in their mission of making sure that education is offered to family members of fallen and disabled veterans. So I thank you very much, and thank you for all of your sacrifices and your positive support for Folds of Honor, Kelly. Thank you.
And with that said, I would now like to present and introduce BJ Clark. And I don't think much of us need to have a real in-depth introduction of her. Everyone knows BJ. So BJ, take it on.
Hello, everyone. Some of you may remember the day this photo was taken. It was in Memphis at the 2019 convention, where the ESA Foundation Board presented a $50,000 grant to support the St. Jude Research Hospital Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences. Many ESA Foundation members were there for this wonderful event, highlighted by a program illustrating how the study of biomedical sciences was the newest promising field in medicine. Since then, the St. Jude Biomedical Graduate Program has enrolled more than 50 students for master's and doctoral programs that the ESA Foundation grant supports. Today, we thought you might like to hear the stories of two of the students and learn more about the scientific studies they are experiencing. Initially, I would like to introduce Stephen Winston. Here is Stephen, and I'll read you his story. Stephen Winston first learned about St. Jude from his grandparents. The couple donated for over 50 years and spoke so highly of the institution, the founders, and the science that St. Jude had been solidified in Winston's mind that this is what a top-tier research institution looks like. Winston earned his bachelor's degree in cell and molecular biology in 2018 from Northeastern University in Boston, Massachusetts. While completing his undergraduate degree, he focused on developing novel applications for and improving existing technology. He has held several important internships where he worked to develop a mechanism to illustrate for antibody surface display libraries. He has also focused on optimizing all aspects of the RNA guide, RNP preparation and delivery. The final product is poised to enter clinical trials for sickle cell and oncology programs. Winston currently works in the lab of Andrew M. Davidoff in the surgery department, where he hopes to improve various aspects of the most popular gene therapy vector, adeno-associated virus, AAV. I firmly believe that no other institution supports their students the way St. Jude does, he says. The personalized attention and training I have received from the faculty is not something I would expect to find anywhere else. Knowing that the advancements made here will be provided to children all over the world for free, without a $500,000 price tag to their family, makes the work that much more rewarding. Stephen is from North Salem, New York. I'd like to introduce Mackenzie Bloom. Mackenzie Bloom arrived at St. Jude with a passion for research in stem cell biology. She is specifically interested in the mechanisms of cell fate determination and how perturbations in that process can contribute to human diseases such as cancer. Bloom earned her bachelor's degree in biology genetics in 2017 from the University of Kansas in Lawrence. During her undergraduate career, she received the Kansas IDEA Network of Biomedical Research Excellence Star Trainee Fellowship to conduct her undergraduate's honor thesis in the lab of Dr. Christy Neufeld. She was also the founder and president of the student chapter of the Society for Biomaterials at the University of Kansas. Bloom currently works in the lab of Kim Nichols, MD, Cancer Predisposition Director, where she contributes to research focusing on understanding the molecular mechanisms of germline leukemia predisposing mutations. Specifically, her work will reveal how germline mutations affects hematopoietic stem and progenitor cells to contribute to hereditary. This insight will allow us to provide better care for children with these types of genetic risks. She earned her master's degree from the St. Jude Graduate School of Biomedical Science in 2018. I want the research I do to help people, she says. I walk around St. Jude and think this is how a research facility is supposed to feel. It is a happy and a joyful place in a setting that conveys a true sense of hope. In 2018-2019, Mackenzie was the St. Jude Graduate Student of the Year. Her hometown is Superior, Colorado. Since we have limited time for this presentation, we can only highlight these two students, but there are many more featured on the graduate school website, which appears on the slide that we're showing now. Also, there is a wonderful interactive virtual tour that you can take by visiting the website that appears on this screen. Knowing that ESA members have also long been interested in the science that is being developed to create cures, we'd like to present a share of the scientific labs and equipment that fuel the programs that support the study and research that these graduate students are experiencing. You will find that some of these things are way beyond the comprehension of lay people, but you'll also see how advanced and wonderful the prospects for biomedical medicine are being developed through the St. Jude Biomedical Graduate Programs. Enjoy your tour. It's a compelling journey into the future of creating cures for children everywhere.
The Center for Advanced Genome Engineering provides the expertise and infrastructure to perform established and emerging genome engineering technologies, including the CRISPR-Cas9 technology. The Molecular Imaging Analysis Core enables us to use nuclear medicine and nuclear chemistry in our research. Here, we produce PET radio tracers to diagnose illnesses and observe biochemical processes. The light microscopy facility employs high-end imaging instrumentation to peer inside cells and explore their complex structure and function. Such information is paramount to the understanding of the cell and is perhaps most important when cellular processes break down, causing catastrophic diseases such as cancer. The electron microscopy facility houses a variety of specialized electron microscopy instruments, including transmission electron microscopy, scanning electron microscopy, and 3D EM capabilities. The facility is staffed by experienced technical staff who are available to assist and train St. Jude scientists in all aspects of imaging-based research. The proteomics facility provides mass spectrometry-based protein analysis services. Whether it's simple protein characterization or the comprehensive profiling of the phosphoproteome, this information can be useful in looking for new drug targets for therapy or finding new biomarkers for early detection of cancer. Flow cytometry and cell sorting is a resource used to diagnose clinical samples or characterize laboratory samples. Using state-of-the-art instrumentation, individual cells are lined up single file and are fed through the flow cytometer or cell sorter, sometimes thousands at a time, to measure different characteristics of each individual cell. This allows our clinicians and researchers to better classify their cell samples and provide more precise and specific information to aid in their diagnoses and discoveries. The Hartwell Center for Bioinformatics and Biotechnology is a unique integration of high-throughput biotechnology resources designed to provide St. Jude investigators with the state-of-the-art tools for biomedical discovery. These tools include next-gen DNA sequencing, high-throughput Sanger sequencing, microarray analysis, macromolecular synthesis, and other methodologies. These technologies allow large-scale biology questions to be addressed and have led to numerous discoveries impacting the diagnosis, classification, and treatment of pediatric diseases. The Cytogenetics Shared Resource provides expertise and equipment to scientists throughout St. Jude that enables us to design, build, and utilize cell-based genetic assays. By visualizing the genome in its natural cellular environment, the cytogenetics staff helps our researchers better understand the underlying biology of cancer. This information may be used to help identify individualized treatments for patients.
Current research in the Developmental Neurobiology Department includes studies of examination of mechanisms in neurodegenerative diseases, identification of genes involved in the formation and function of the retina, and elucidation of the molecular mechanisms underlying a range of tumors. These investigations are further leveraged by our use of multiple experimental platforms that range from comprehensive genomics and proteomics to advanced cellular and in vivo imaging. In the Structural Biology Department, researchers are working to decipher the molecular details of key biological processes such as cell signaling, cell death, DNA repair, protein folding and misfolding, and cell transport. The detailed structures of proteins involved in these processes can be leveraged to help design new medicines, materials, and diagnostic procedures. Our scientists use sophisticated biophysical techniques such as NMR spectroscopy, X-ray crystallography, cryo-electron microscopy and tomography, single molecule spectroscopy, and mass spectrometry. The Chemical Biology and Therapeutics Department facilitates discovery of new bioactive small molecules using state-of-the-art high-throughput techniques to discover pharmacological tools and drug candidates for catastrophic pediatric disease. The Genetics Department studies the genetic and molecular basis of several diseases, molecular mechanisms involved in early development, organogenesis, and metabolic disorders, DNA damage responses in the central nervous system, and the roles of oncogenes, tumor suppressors, and signaling pathways in cancer. The Oncology Department is a coordinated program of clinical and laboratory-based research, patient care, and education. Oncology faculty are involved in research aiming at identifying novel drugs and treatment modalities, defining the clinical significance of recently discovered genetic abnormalities of cancer cells, and understanding mechanisms of cancer development and drug resistance. The Computational Biology Department combines the power of computation with the latest wet bench techniques. Scientists in wet labs use liquid agents to test biological findings, while scientists in dry labs carefully and precisely analyze large-scale data assisted by computers. Taken together, these two approaches rapidly accelerate the translation of biological discoveries to the clinic, resulting in better, more personalized treatment. St. Jude created the Department of Computational Biology to apply and extend the lessons of the Pediatric Cancer Genome Project into the new Cancer Predisposition Clinic. Every cancer patient who is admitted through St. Jude has the opportunity to have their genome sequenced and analyzed, thereby giving our patients the most personalized care while advancing science. Today, computational biology works collaboratively with many departments in the institution, providing insight into a wide range of pediatric health questions, from investigating changes in the DNA of pathogens to epigenomic mapping. The Division of Experimental Hematology encompasses laboratory-based research within the Department of Hematology. Our mission is to make clinically relevant discoveries in non-malignant hematology. Current areas of interest include pharmacogenomics of sickle cell disease, gene therapy for hemophilia, immunodeficiencies, and basic biology of hematopoietic stem cells. The division is highly interactive with numerous collaborations between laboratories and prioritizes high-quality translational research. Pharmaceutical Sciences pharmacogenomic research integrates high-throughput molecular analyses, pharmacokinetics, and pharmacodynamics to identify inherited germline and somatically acquired tumor genetic determinants of drug effects in humans, with the long-term goal of optimizing drug therapy for individual patients. Faculty, trainees, and staff work in a number of preclinical laboratory models, integrate their work into translational studies, develop new agents in collaboration with other St. Jude faculty, and use state-of-the-art clinical approaches to establish new knowledge and improve patient care. The Department of Immunology at St. Jude studies the biology of the immune system, whose cells are a major source of childhood cancers. By understanding these cells and how they are controlled, we gain new insights into such cancers. Among the top infectious causes of death worldwide are respiratory diseases and HIV/AIDS. The Department of Infectious Diseases seeks to focus on the pathogenesis of these infections with a breadth of commitment that extends from the research bench to the bedside. Therapeutic candidates in the form of antimicrobials, vaccines, or adjunctive therapies may be further pursued in clinical trials for children. The Advanced Research Center marks the beginning of a new era of scientific advancement emerging at St. Jude. The 625,000 square foot building is designed as an interactive hub of exploration that will cultivate transformative research and collaboration. The facility includes state-of-the-art labs focusing on immunology, neurobiology, cell and molecular biology, gene editing, metabolics, advanced microscopy, epigenetics, genomics, immunotherapy, and RNA biology. The space also contains a biorepository and collaborative spaces to facilitate interaction among researchers. Every aspect of the Advanced Research Center has been customized to inspire and support researchers who seek to lead and collaborate.
Thank you for your time, attention, and giving hearts. What you are doing through the ESA Foundation grant is a vote of confidence for what talented doctors and researchers can do to find cures for catastrophic illnesses of all kinds. While our time limits us, I do encourage you to go to the website to view the people and types of instruction that you are part of. You will find that the students represent many countries and many cultures. Again, as always, the ESA Foundation seeks to make the world a better place for everyone, especially its children. Thank you from your St. Jude family, from your ESA Foundation family, and thank you from the children of the world. As always, wonderful things can happen when we work together. We hope you enjoyed seeing the wonderful difference you make.
BJ, thank you so much for your time and work in preparation for this wonderful presentation. I'm completely impressed with your medical terminology in the presentation. Great job. I'd like to introduce Rosalie Eckel to tell us about our recent fundraising event.
This past year, the ESA Foundation hosted 2 virtual mystery nights. We want to thank everyone who supported the virtual prom mystery night, which you're seeing some of the cast members on your screen now. Special recognition goes to Sandy Hosak, producer, and Claudia Hatton, a scriptwriter. We also want to thank the many sponsors and attendees who made the event a success. Our cast did a wonderful job of entertaining us and leaving clues so the mystery could be solved. Our main sponsor was Steve Murray, who is the financial advisor to the ESA Foundation. Thank you, Steve, for not only being our main sponsor, but also recruiting one of your co-workers, Nick Phillips, to be in the cast. And we certainly cannot forget Brian Hogg, who is on the ESAMC board of directors for his role as the principal. From the feedback we heard, it was a fun evening. And now I'm going to introduce Judy York.
Thank you all. I'd like to present the ESA Foundation Life Active members for this past year. And they are Alicia Goldberg from Arizona, McKeegan Woost and Lori Lindekin from Colorado, Judy Ahrens from Kansas, along with Cheryl Puckett and Mackenzie Higgins, also from Kansas, Mariah Eckel from Missouri. From New Mexico, we have the New Mexico Roadrunners, District 2 and District 3. From Oklahoma, we had Jennifer Sparkman, Peggy Sprinkle, and the Eastern District. Texas, we had Lois Knopfer, and from Virginia, we had Alpha Omega. Thank you all to all of you for supporting the Life Active program of the ESA Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. I hope that everyone has enjoyed these great stories today about all the efforts and successes this past year. These are all made possible by your dedication and financial commitment. Because of your support, we are truly able to make a positive difference in the world community. Thank you for spending time with us. We're always excited to be able to share these great stories. We hope each of you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care, and we hope to see many of you in Louisville, Kentucky at IC Convention in just a few weeks. Thank you and have a good evening.